Hello and welcome to the Lund University International Podcast. On the show, you'll hear from current students, alumni, teachers, and many more special guests as we explore what it's really like to live and study in Lund. My name is Maria Lindblad, and I am a recruitment manager here at Lund University. Today, we're going to talk about the bridge between the professional life and being a student, but in reverse, we can say. So instead of discussing your career opportunities after studies, we're going to talk to some guests here who have already started their professional career before deciding to take a break and go into studies again. So let's start with the introductions of our guests. Christine.
I am Christine Githiomi, and I am from Kenya via the US, and I started here at Lund in August of 2022 at the service department. My focus is in culture and creativity and I'll tell you a little bit about my previous career, but basically that's how I came to Lund.
Okay, nice. And Shreeya?
Hi, I'm Shreeya. I'm from Nepal. I study data analytics and business economics here. I started in August 2023.
All right. Well, great to have you both here to give us some insight on today's topic. So let's start back in your lives before you came to Lund. So what were you doing, Shreeya, before you decided to come to Sweden?
I've been working for around 4 years. I have changed different field and domain. I started with finance in the beginning, then I got a little bit bored of it. Then I went into project management. So I did project management with IT companies for around 3 years. Side by side, I also did training and development with a lot of students back in Nepal. So that is basically it.
Oh, wow. Yeah. So you had quite a bit of a career already before. What about you, Christine? What were you doing?
Mine seems even longer. I have about 20 years of experience in.
Oh, wow.
I actually started here in Sweden.
Oh.
Like 20 or so years ago. I first came here with my aunt, who was a diplomat. She was posted here by the Kenyan government. Yeah. So I came here and I worked as an admin person for a few of the embassies while I was trying to save some money to go to college. Then I got accepted in the US and then moved there. And it took me a long time to get my degree because I worked to earn my bachelor's degree. So in the meantime, I got into development work. I worked with a bunch of international NGOs in democracy, social change, and a couple of different others that have to do with culture, the LGBTQ rights, a lot of different things within NGO space. Decided I was going to go home to Kenya. So I decided, let me do a bit of hotel management. So I worked with Orient Express Hotels for about 4 years. And then my last gig was with World Vision for about 2 years before I went back to Kenya.
Oh.
So when I got to Kenya, my first job was with the Pan-African Federation of Filmmakers. This was in 2016. Mm-hmm. Worked as their projects and communications manager. And then went back. One of my companies that I worked for in the States had a field office in Kenya. And they were managing the Kenyan elections in 2017. So I worked for them as their communications and operations person until the end of the elections, and then went back to the Pan-African Federation to close out their project. That one was representing filmmakers all around Africa, and it was like a touring secretariat. So it left South Africa, came to Kenya, and now was going back to Burkina Faso. So I closed up that project. And then went into a bunch of different consultancies. And then 2020 hit. And then I was like, my whole career, I have been doing culture and creative stuff on the side as something that has always interested me, as in that I can make a career out of this. This is stuff I love to do. So I worked to earn money, but I did this for fun. And then I decided that I'm going to take a leap and decide to join my avocation with my vocation. And I looked for the one university that had this particular degree, and it was Lund.
Oh, Yeah, I was just going to
Long
say, it sounds
story.
like you had the perfect background for the program you were in, but we'll get to that.
Exactly.
But Shreeya, how come you decided to take a break? Sounds like a bit more dramatic, but in a way it is, and go into studies or continue your studies.
So like I said, I worked in projects and it was basically IT project, but I come from business background. So when I worked with IT project, I felt like, am I missing something technical? Because business is all about soft skills. You learn how to speak, negotiate, plan things, but I really wanted to get into the technical details. So I was like, should I give it a try and learn something, maybe a hard skill? Because it now you need a balance between a soft and hard skill, given the industry that I am from. So I decided that maybe I should give it a try. And the difficult part is there aren't many programs that allow you to switch between from a non-tech degree to a tech degree, especially when you come from business. So that is how my search started, where I wanted to explore different domains and have a balance so that I'm more prepared for the kind of jobs that are opening up or the kind of learning I need for the future, I would say, because it's constantly changing, but it's always good to know things technically as well. So that's how my chain of thought went towards going back to studying. Yeah.
Okay, so you wanted to broaden those skills a little bit, and how did you go about researching where to go? Because that's the next step, right? Once you have decided to go in.
So that was also a process, I would say, because like I said, it's not easy and there aren't a lot of programs that allow you to switch, and you need to also think about your budget, how much you're going to finance it and everything. So for me, I was very keen on coming into European market. I really wanted to learn here. I had studied back in Asia, which is a completely different culture, the way of teaching and everything. So I was sure that I wanted to do something in Europe. So when I started researching around it, it was quite difficult because there weren't a lot of programs which would allow you to switch unless you have a lot of maths or programming background, which I didn't have. I come from pure business background. So that's how the search started. And luckily here in Lund, the program allows you to bridge between someone from a non-tech degree to a tech degree. So I'm studying data analytics now. So that was a great opportunity for me to switch and the kind of degree that I was looking for, which understood that I didn't come from this background, but wanted to learn. So it was a perfect opportunity.
Sounds great. Yeah. Christine, what made you take that final leap? As you described your background and then you said, okay, I'm going to jump.
There aren't a lot of culture and creative management degrees that are not very business oriented. And I didn't think I needed any more business because my previous experience has been in operations and management. What I wanted, because I was going into culture and creativity without being a creative myself, in the normal scheme of things, most people are creative, but I wasn't a singer or an actor or a theater person. So I wanted to be in culture and creativity on the management side because it's taking advantage of my previous experience, but also have the kind of theoretical background that would give me, the feeling like I belong in the space and feel like I'm bringing as much to the table as my colleagues would be in the space who have a more creative and cultural background. So I was looking for that kind of the degree, and just Googling it. It was kind of difficult to find the kind of space that I was looking for, and I wanted to come back to Europe as well. I did the States. I'm good with that, and so I wanted to come back to Europe, and I knew that I wanted to come back to Lund, but it really mattered whether or not the degree program that I was looking for was here.
Yeah, of course.
And lo and behold, it worked. There was a culture and creative management program in Copenhagen, but it was very business oriented. Mm-hmm. So I was like, okay, other than this, what other degree is there? And this one came up, and it's one of the few that has this kind of theoretical focus, very much within social sciences. So I thought, okay, if I do this degree, and also it's a Master of Science. So not only is it theoretically based, it gives me a solid foundation. it's also a science background. It would give me the kind of foundation to be a strong researcher when I leave. So those were the reasons I picked this degree. Yeah.
And how did you feel about coming back to Lund and to Sweden specifically?
My only issue was that when I was here the last time, it was very hard to find people who spoke English, amazingly enough. And then I came here and I was like, it was very odd. 2022 was very, very odd. I think you had the most mild winter in history or something. Because I thought, I was even telling the guy who did the fixing in the school dorms, I could have sworn it was a lot colder than it is this time. And then on top of that, everybody I spoke to, even in the coop, everybody's speaking English.
Yeah.
That was not my experience previously. Granted, I didn't leave the Stockholm area at the time when I lived here, but I didn't think there weren't that many people who spoke English. And now everybody spoke English. So first of all, the winters are milder, and maybe that's not a good thing with global warming. I don't know. And I think it made up for it this season.
Yeah,
but
had some snow now.
it's been kind of cold this time. But and then on top of that, those were the only things that I remembered that were maybe a bit of a shock, because the last time I came in January. Yeah. It was freezing. It was a really cold winter. In I think it was 89 or something like that. It was pretty cold. And then the language thing.
Yeah,
that
changed a lot. And maybe it was also a part of that initial shock.
Exactly.
When you came the first time.
I think it was a lot of those things, and then the fact that I was even telling someone else, I spent more of my life outside of my country than I have been in my country. So I think you just get used to being in new places and adjusting.
Yeah. So Shreeya, how have you sort of integrated your experience into your current students, or what could you take with you, and how do you feel that you've been able to integrate it now?
I think there is a difference when you're a very fresher. When I went into undergrad, I didn't have a lot of work experience or anything. I was too young. That experience and now is completely different, because I think from a very business perspective, or how that's going to align with my career next, because now that I'm taking technical course, like I said, it's going to be different, of course, because I come from a very pure business background, but I was still working in IT industry as project manager. So for me now, when I go to classes or anything, I think about, how am I going to use it, or how my decision making or how I think about strategies are going to change. And the perspective is kind of different than just naively going to class and being like, oh, okay, I learned this. How is it going to work in real world? Might not be there in your mind, but at least that's something that I really value, because I know where I'm going to use it and how I can build on things, because I want to emphasize that you can't learn everything in class. It's not just that, but you will get a starting point on how you can build on it and what are the things you want to take, because maybe not all courses were for me. And even now it is difficult because I don't come from this background, but I just know that this is the starting point, and there are a few things that I can pick and I can add to my career and how it works for me. So that integration is something that has been valuable for me.
Yeah, that sounds interesting. Do you feel also that because of the experience you have more to bring into class as well? Because I know here in Sweden, it's very discussion based, and you are, supposed to have an opinion and not just quietly listen and take notes.
Yeah, I think when I think about the girl who, imagining myself when I was in undergrad and now, I would say I'm more extroverted too. Otherwise, it would have been difficult, because you in workspace, you need to talk, you need to say things, you need to voice your opinion. So that really helped me here, because now you're meeting people from all different backgrounds. And if you are the introverted person, then it'll be very closed off. There isn't a lot to talk about. So I think it's not just about the class and where you can share your opinion. It's also about integrating yourself with this diverse community. I have around 30 plus maybe countries or nationalities in my class alone. And that's a lot. And we come from very distinct background, different countries, different things that we have seen, or different education too. In my program, it's like everyone is from economics, marketing, engineering, and everything. So I think the work aspect really helped me be more confident about myself. I know what I want. I know what I'm aiming for. And that also helps in how I channel things and how I build relationship. And I know how important connecting with people is now than before. Of course, previously I wouldn't have given that much importance to it, knowing more people. But now I think I learned so much from people as well.
Thank you. Christine, what do you say? What did you sort of bring with you, and how do you feel that you've been able to integrate your professional life with your studies?
Well, I think it matters. For me, intentionality was the thing that I came here with a very clear idea of why I'm coming here. Because when you're coming out of your job experience, taking 2 years of a break, it's a decision you have to make because it also affects your employability. So it is a very more intentional decision to take a break from work to come and do this. So number one, you have to make that decision of, okay, I'm going to take this break. And then where you're going to take it, factoring in financials and all of that stuff. But then also what you're going there to do. So I was very clear that I'm coming here to get the tools that I need to be able to function within this space that I've always wanted to function in a way that is credible, that in a way that I'm also bringing value to the space, and that I'm doing something within my country that I think is of value, not just for me, but for my country as well. So when I came here with that in mind, everything that I do, you said that here is very conversational. It's also, you have to bring every part of your own experience to the conversations that you're having. In my particular focus, we are about 6. We actually started as 8 and we lost some folks on the way. So we're a group of 6 within this specialization. So each and every one of us has a very distinct background. And the same thing, we come from different parts of the world. In fact, I think our class, there is no Swede. Yeah. So that's another thing. So, we come in from different backgrounds. We have different intentions. So when we are asked a question, it could be a question that the professor has probably asked each individual specialization up to that point, but we bring with it our own experiences and also what we hope for in the future. This is my last course before my thesis. So every now the question is, okay, how am I going to take what I'm learning now into my work experience? What is it that I am taking from not just my classmates, but also for the professor? Even the professor's interactions with us are more so at a peer level. It's just like at this point in your studies, you should be able to answer the questions that we're asking you in this way. You should have questions of your own that are at this level, as opposed to when you came in last year. You should have already matured or advanced in your thinking, in your perception of your courses and perception of your life before and after your course. So all of that I'm bringing in as someone who's a bit older. In most of the classes, I'm one of the older students. I come in with for me, I'm not taking it for granted, because for me, this is a gift. This is a blessing to be able to do this. So everything I'm doing, I'm being very intentional, and I'm being very conscious that not everybody gets to go back to school and do this. So.
Wow, that's very wise. Wise perspective there.
Life and time gets you to this point.
Yeah. What about the culture? I mean, now you were a professional before coming here, and now you're in school. So there's, of course, a difference just in that. But do you see does anything stick out to you in terms of the cultural differences between how you interact and how you learn here in Sweden and in your class here compared to what you've experienced before? What do you say, Shreeya?
Of course, there will be difference, especially coming from a whole different continent, I would say, and also from the perspective that I come from a very third world country like Nepal, where I wouldn't say there are a lot of things developed as it is here, and people here have seen probably more opportunities or different things than what I have. But I also feel like when you're coming to a class or a place where there is so much diversity, you also learn to be cautious, as well as you're respectful to what everyone has to offer. You're not having a judgment beforehand. You think about how things work here, what are the things that you are adapting to, and what you are bringing to the table, of course. And I think that is one of the aspects that I feel is different for me coming here, coming out of my comfort zone, is that I'm more conscious about what I say and how I say things, because I need to accept that everyone is different. Everyone comes from a different background. For me, what's natural isn't natural here. It takes a lot of time for people to process, what? It's like that? And I'm like, yeah, it's quite different. So, so just being respectful, and I think patient too, when you're talking with other people, and even people coming from different places. We all say that we speak English, but English is also very different when people speak. So you need to have that respect and patience to say that, okay, we are all trying. It's not even our first language. So that just being respectful is one thing that I feel is very important when you come to a very diverse place.
Christine, you were saying you were getting close to the end now of your program, and you're getting into your thesis. What do you feel that you're going to take with you back into your professional life the most from this experience here at Lund, and not just the program itself, but overall?
I was looking forward to answering that first question, but I'll answer it in the same way to answer this particular question as well. Coming from Kenya, and the biggest issue, the biggest difference, and I see it also with other colleagues of mine from Africa, is that when you're in this environment, you have this idea, and this is in school everywhere in Africa, is what I'm understanding, is that there is no right answer. We keep looking for the professor to say this is correct and this is wrong. That's not going to happen here, and that's the one hurdle that we had to get through. That you have to be in the frame of mind that you are as right as you can convince and show proof of your answer. If you can show evidence of what you're saying, and that can be understood and then can be proven, then you are correct, or in as much as you can be correct until someone else disproves your idea. But that is very difficult for people coming from my particular context, being able to say everybody could be correct. They just have to show evidence. And then the other thing is, because my background is also very American, there's also a very socialism is a very big part of historical context, especially here in Sweden, especially when it comes to culture and creativity, because culture here is very much supported by the government. In Africa and in the United States, culture is very much a market-based system. So there's a lot of thinking that I had that was very from a capitalist frame of mind, that you have to come and see things from a different perspective. So those are two glaring ideas that I came from, that now in this space, you have to kind of shift your thinking a little bit and see it from a different perspective, which was really, really a mark of why it was important to come to Europe to study some of the things that I'm studying, especially when it comes to culture and creativity. And then in answer to your question about how it's going to go into my career, I think it's really, really important to have a very global idea of the way that you work. All I read about, especially this last summer, was taking the opportunity to even go on LinkedIn and try to set up informational sessions with different people in Africa that are in the space that I'm in, trying to get to meet them, because for so many reasons, one of which is I wanted to have an idea of what to study for my thesis. And I wanted to have a very African context. How are you going to do that? You're going to talk to the people in the space who are there now and ask them, okay, in your practice, what are you seeing are the things that we need to research in this field? I was lucky enough that, because I set a goal for myself, 2 informational sessions every week. So I would reach out on LinkedIn and say, hey, my name is such and such. I'm going into my second year of my master's. I'd really like to talk to you about your culture and creativity in Zimbabwe, in Burkina Faso, in South Africa, in Tanzania. And for some reason, people were open to it. And I made the goal I met 2 people every week. And I think because of those connections, I got an offer for a position as a program partnerships and program manager for the NGO Film Festival.
Oh, wow.
Like last month. And they're willing to wait for me to finish until I finish my degree. So what you take from there is the idea that you ask as many questions, talk to as many people, be open to people's perspectives, be open to a different framing of what you thought you knew for sure. It's not always like that. And it's better for you the more you open up to see these things, because you would be surprised by where you get opportunities, where you get people who are thinking exactly like you, but you wouldn't even think about it.
Yeah.
And, there's also the idea that you have to be open to not just thinking differently, but also speaking differently. If it's really good to come here and have the idea that you'd like to speak Swedish as well. So
yeah,
think just open your mind in so many ways.
You wrapped a lot into there, Christy. That's amazing, and congratulations on this opportunity. It was actually going to be my next questions. Yes. What are your plans now moving forward? But you have it cut out for you, it seems.
Well, it's really important, and a lot of us are. Even now, I'm getting questions from my colleagues because I think I'm one of the few people who's very much on LinkedIn, and it's mostly because I've been on LinkedIn for my whole career, but this time I was very active on it this past summer. But it's really important that you don't forget about your industry ties. For some of my colleagues who did not go into work, they went straight from bachelor's into master's. It's really important that, even more so than myself, for them to go into spaces like LinkedIn to create and find opportunities for internships, for fellowships, get to know within the space that they're practicing in.
Yeah. Not
be so anxious to get the first job that they get, which is really, it might be like, a Fedora job, but they get some money during the summer season or off season when they're not in class. It's great, you earn some money, but in the long run, those are opportunities you could have taken to do something in the field that you're going to graduate in that is of more value to you. And
even volunteering, right?
Even any kind of way,
create some connections.
Any kind of way. In fact, this job that I mentioned, if someone was here the director was here from Rome, he's in Scandinavia, who was looking for somewhere to do an event, and he reached out, and I said, for sure, let me help you with contacts and information about how you can hold this event. They didn't think nothing of it. I gave him the information, and then afterwards is when he said, Christine, by the way, would you like to work for me full time? It wasn't something I was thinking of and that, because first of all, I'm focusing on my thesis and schoolwork. That wasn't my thinking. So opportunities come from different places, and don't be reluctant to go into something that you think you're not going to get any money for. If it's in the field, especially since I said doing this master's degree is a big deal, financially, it's an investment. It's an investment in yourself. Your family probably has invested in you, and the people around you have they've made sacrifices for you to be here. Do whatever you can to make it the most of the time that you're here.
Good advice there. How about you, Shreeya? Have you had time yet to start thinking about the future? I mean, you recently started your program, so you have some time left, I suppose, but still. And it's a shorter program too, so
yeah. I mean, I don't think I have a lot of time because I'm graduating in June as well. I'm in a 1-year program, so it's coming quite quickly. And I think that's also the reason why I like this program, because I'm not taking a longer break. Like she said, it is a lot of, a decision to make when you're leaving your career where you're earning money, you have your funds, and you're like suddenly switching and coming to another country. But luckily for me, I am an SI scholar, so I am lucky that I got the scholarship and it's funding my education, so I'm glad about that as well. But in terms of the career perspective, I think I completely agree with LinkedIn and going out of the box and trying things, because you never know. You never know what you're thinking about. Maybe sometimes, like Christine mentioned, that you aren't even thinking about it, but it can happen. So for me too, I think I've been talking to a lot of people trying to explore the kind of roles that I can get here for, but I think it has been a difficult, or I would say an interesting path for me to say what kind of roles now. Because like I said, I took tech knowledge here. I have business knowledge already. So how am I going to balance? I'm doing a mix of both, trying to balance the two or just seeing where I fit in. But it has been a very interesting process because that's something why I came here. So yeah, using LinkedIn, trying to find opportunities. I would love to get the experience in Sweden and learn more about the culture. I think professionally also, similar to how going to classes or meeting people here, I think work also teaches a lot to you in terms of how the culture works. So I would love to experience the Swedish culture, but the language has been something that I really need to invest my time, because when it's a 1-year degree, it's just class that's going on.
Of course.
But I obviously understand the importance of language when you want to integrate in a culture. It's super important. So yeah, so it's been like exploring, a process to explore as well as think about what's next. But yeah, don't have anything figured out yet. But
maybe
that's
some
the fun
Swedish
of it.
classes in the future for you.
For sure.
If you want to stay here a little bit longer.
Yeah.
And I also kind of want to put a plug in for the chances that the school offers for folks who are about to leave. There are resume preparation courses. There are ways in which they actually help you get a LinkedIn profile. There are opportunities to meet with different types of employers, especially if you're in supply chain focus space or sustainability. IKEA has come and they've done different case studies with organizations that are trying to get international students to join them. And even when it comes to the language issue, there are some organizations who will onboard you and you can learn Swedish while you are being onboarded to the company. So there are opportunities if staying in Sweden is something that someone would be interested in.
That's some great advice from both of you there. I think we could be talking all day long about this, but I think we need to wrap it up for today. But there's really been some valuable insights, and I think this is also calming to students who are coming in, because we always have students being very worried. I'm going to be too old, or I have a gap here. Is that going to be a problem? And you two have just proven that it's even better to have some experience coming in, I feel, and also helping you in your future. So thank you so much, Christina and Shreeya, for being with us today. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Lund University International Podcast. If you are interested in learning more about Lund University, you can go to our website, lunduniversity.lu.se. You can also follow us on social media on Instagram, Facebook, and X, and you can chat with current students on Unibuddy. Don't forget to subscribe, and we look forward to bringing you a new episode very soon.